So, a moment early in my career that made me realize that we were talking people first and not property was probably it kind of developed from McKenzie Towne, actually. We were selling first time home buyers, and when I got my real estate license, I decided that I wanted to go back to those people, and I had already created relationships with them, but I was really new to the real estate world, and so I kept trying to push the buy or the sell or whatever. And I think the reality is that people are not moving to buy a new home. They're moving to have a new experience. And so ultimately, my goal or my job inside of the real estate world is to give them the new experience, to give them the new dream, to help them get to where they want to go in their next adventure. So for some, it might be their family is expanding, and for others it's that they're downsizing. And so the ultimate, I think, reality of that was it's not a transaction, it's a new life experience, and I get to go along for the journey, and I really love that part of real estate. So that's, I think, why I would say that McKenzie Towne was that catalyst for me. It got me from, that first like real estate experience and the unknowing of it to the back to the reality that this is a family first. It's a community. It's an experience where people are going to be moving along in their life, and I get to enjoy the journey with them. Well, I got into real estate actually a little bit by accident, if I was being honest with you. I was going to university to become a teacher because all of my family members, my mom, my dad, I have some step family, they were all teachers. And so I sort of felt like that was like somehow inherent in who I was. And so I was going to University of Calgary, and I needed a job to get through my third year. I think I was in my third year, and I got a job at a show home. And it was perfect because I could work weekends and evenings. And the reality is I taught my first class to a bunch of kids, and I realized I don't actually love kids that much. And so I was like, hey, wait a second, this whole real estate thing is actually working out pretty good for me. And the company I was working for was like, hey, do you want to get your real estate license? And I thought, well, sure, okay. So I went to get my real estate license, and then from there actually went on to new home sales almost immediately. I did that for 20 years. And then at the end of the 20 years, I think what I realized is that I was ready to be my own boss. I was ready to try something a little bit different. I never really imagined myself being a real estate agent, but as it turns out, I think I'm pretty good at it. So that's good. I remember in the beginning, my husband said to me, like, are you sure? You have to be like the marketer, and you have to run the business of real estate. Like, it's not just, get your license and the phone's going to ring. And I think secretly I thought that was not true. I thought that I would get my license and I would be busy right away. But even with my new home roots, it's a grind. It's a real grind. So so I definitely have learned through the real estate world now that it is a business and that you have to behave as if it is. You are, you're an accountant, you are a counselor, you are a marketer, you are a social media person. So you're a bit of everything to everyone, and you have to make sure that you've got the right people in your corner to help you with that. So, yeah, I guess at the end, I was not a teacher. I'm a real estate agent. So, I suppose a time when I had to slow things down for a client, just to make sure that we weren't jumping ahead of everything. Like sometimes when you get your head wrapped around the process, you jump from A to B, I guess, and there is a stepping stone process to get you from the beginning of your search and what you think you want to what you actually need. And so there are lots of people who go out into the world either selling a home or buying a home, and they think they know what the end result needs to look like. But many, many, many times, actually, I would almost gauge 75% of the time, people say they want something and they end up in something really, really different because were they had this idea in mind. And so what often has to happen in the process is that you need to pull back, like way back, and talk from the real root of the situation about what it is that they're trying to accomplish with their move. Oftentimes people like myself, as an example, I sold our house when our kids were moving out, and we thought, oh, we're going to downsize. We're going to go to a bungalow. And I looked for bungalows and I looked for bungalows, and honestly, nothing kept coming to me. And so I had to stop and say, why are we doing this move? What are we doing here? And at the end of the day, what I realized is that I wasn't really as committed to the house as I was to the community. I wanted to be in a quiet community. I wanted to be where I knew some people, but that there was new opportunity for me, that it was closer to downtown, maybe a little bit closer to Fish Creek, because those are the things that I really enjoy in my life as I grow old. And so what we ended up in is actually a 4-level split, still less stairs, but it was different than my original thought process. And at the end of the day, like slowing that down got me closer to what I really, really wanted. And I've never really looked back. So I try to do that exact thing for our clients. And sometimes people appreciate it and sometimes they don't. They really want to push forward. And I think that my job as an agent is to make sure that when you are moving forward, you're moving in the right direction. I've been told what clients appreciate about me is that I come from a place of authenticity. I am not here to make the next sale. I'm here to be with you for the long haul, I think. And I think I've been told that I genuinely care for people and I'm a good listener. And I think when you are a good listener, hopefully you end up with the right product for the people because you've actually done the listening and taken that in. I think I'm fun. I think sometimes maybe people really enjoy, a good laugh along with some stressful moments, because I think, life can be pretty complicated and it can be pretty hard. Even when you're buying a house, they imagine it's going to be this really great dream scenario, but the reality is there's some stressful moments in it. And so, have a little fun, make a little light. I think that's a big part of why people choose me. I think my genuine caring actually shows up. I don't know. I've been told that. I think I'm really honest. The other thing I've been told is that I'm really good at what I call the shit sandwich. And I'm sorry, this is a kind of bad terminology, but I'm really good at delivering tough news, but not making you feel bad about it. I don't think every bad thing actually results in something terrible. I think it can be a catalyst to something wonderful. And so I think I'm really good at delivering that kind of news. Yes, in this transaction, you do need to hear the bad with the good, because you can't move forward if you don't have all the information. So that's what I think. One of the ways that when I have to deliver bad news that I sort of work within is that nobody really wants to hear the bad news without hearing a result or a problem solving solution. So when I'm delivering difficult news, I always try to start with the news, but have maybe 1 to 3 scenarios of what our options are, because it is up to them, right? Like my job is to give you your options. My job isn't to tell you what to do. So I'll say as an example, listen, this is the most common one right now in our marketplace, price. People want to go out and they want to try the market. They want to see what happens. I hate that word, but that's what lots of people want to see what happens. And at some point, the news has to be that it is about their price, right? And so what we often will do is we'll say, okay, we've had 10 days on the market. We've tried 2 open houses. We've taken photos, we've done social media, these are all the things we've done. And then we say our next opportunities exist like this. We will do a price reduction. We can do a price reduction. We can take it off the market. We can relist it. We can make it fresh again. We can maybe stage the home a little differently. We can take some new photos. We can try marketing it in a different location. And so ultimately at the end of the day, it's yes, we do need a price reduction, but it's not only the price reduction. It's ABC with the price reduction. It's options. And so people feel like they're part of the solution, because I think that's the other thing is you can't just say to somebody, this is the way it is, too bad, so sad. They have to buy in. And so ultimately with anything, as an example, even an offer, somebody's going to come and they're going to lowball the offer. First, my job is to explain why they felt they needed to lowball the offer. Then it's about what we need to do with that offer. Are there opportunities inside of that offer that actually work for the client, that we can start there? And so I think it's really important to walk through the problem, the solution, and then the outcomes that will come with the solution. I actually love that question, because in terms of impact and community, I would actually start with McKenzie Towne first. When I was selling new homes in McKenzie Towne, I really enjoyed connecting people, if that makes sense. It wasn't even about connecting for myself, it was connecting people to each other. So like often we would sell homes, and I was selling duplexes in the beginning of McKenzie Towne. And some of the things I love doing that I actually found most entertaining for both myself and for my clients, we had this we had a pub night once a month, and we would meet up with all of our single clients who bought duplexes, because I sort of felt like, hey, you know what, if you can afford to buy a house, you're probably a pretty good catch. And so I brought all the single people together, and through that, this community grew, which I loved, and some even made love connections, which I always thought was hilarious. But I think that was the catalyst of like, what is my job in the community? And it's to create the connections between the people. It's to create the opportunities for people to get to know each other. And I think a good community starts with a good base and a good root system. And so that was, I think, where we always came from. If we're selling homes, we want to make sure that people fit into the right community for that. They fit into where they belong, and that we create those connections. And so in addition to real estate, we try to get them sorted in a way where they're in a place that is going to really truly make them happy. I'm gonna pull back for a minute, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about my journey in real estate, because it's been an ever evolving scenario for me. When I first joined the real estate world from the new homes situation, I joined a brokerage where I knew quite a few of the agents, and I felt like that was a really great starting point. For my learning, and hoped that that would give me an opportunity to maybe be mentored or something like that. End of the day, I joined the brokerage. There were a lot of things that I did not know, and it was shocking, honestly. Like as an example, this particular brokerage that I work for, it was something like $2,000 a month to be there. Plus, they charge you for every photocopy and every bit of like help that they gave you. You were getting charged for it. And at the end of the year, I want to say I think I spent $28,000 being at that brokerage, and I'm not positive that I got my money's worth. And I think the other part of it was. Agents, unfortunately, are really out there looking after themselves when there's nothing in it for them, because that is a bit of the way that the culture was created. So at the end of the day, I was offered an opportunity to go to a cloud-based brokerage, and they were offering these shares, and I knew I was doing enough business to make money in shares, and I knew that that was important to me, because again, from the earlier comment, it's a business. Our job is to be looking at our bottom line, and I was looking at my bottom line saying, this doesn't make sense to me. So inside of my business, I was like, okay, let's go look at this cloud-based brokerage, because they're going to give me an opportunity to earn my money back from my own transactions. So I joined there. Realized very quickly that I was not an agent who was great at bringing other agents on, because that's just not who I am. I think that if you want to come with me, yay, good, but like, I'm not going to go out there and, give them the guns. So I joined this brokerage. I did really well. I did so well. And I understood that sort of style of brokerage was the way I wanted to build my business. So I knew that it made sense to be in a brokerage where there were shares. I knew that made sense. What happened, though, throughout the process is that the brokerage relied on bringing more and more people. that may not have been the caliber of people that I would have wanted to work with. And then I was missing the community. Like I really loved the first brokerage I was at because people got together. We went bowling. We did things together. We learned together. And so that was really neat. So when I decided to leave, and we did make the decision to leave this big brokerage after I made lots of money, and I actually left money on the table to come to KIC because I felt like it was the perfect combination of the right people at the right time for me and my business. I knew that I didn't really require a lot of support from an office standpoint. So that was kind of nice because coming into a new brokerage, there's hiccups. Let's not kid ourselves. There's hiccups with that. So I knew that that was an okay time for me to come. I knew that when I came, the people that I admired in the business were there as well, or they were looking at it at least. And I knew the opportunity to buy in to the share ownership made total sense to me and continues to make sense to me. So when I joined, I was looking at that community. I was looking for the culture that I missed from my first brokerage, and the shares, obviously, they just make sense. So that was a big part of it. And now that I'm in, I definitely know that what I'm looking for of the people joining us are going to be the right people, the culture, the community, those people who really like to have fun, who kind of, laugh at themselves, who do a decent business, but, that they're there for the community as well and with the community to help each other, because I think that's a big part of it. Yeah, and let's, make fun together, make money together, and grow together. I think that's a big part of it. I just love it. And I think the other part that I really loved is it's Canadian. At the end of the day, when I left the other brokerage, everything felt very Americanized to me. And I am not, that rah rah shish boom bah kind of person, in that I like authenticity. I don't like salesmanship, I guess is how I would describe it. So that was a big one for me. I just felt like that was a better fit here in Canada, and that people are joining because they want that culture. I have 5 kids. And I know that everybody's talking about the market being challenging, but I guess I look at this from a perspective of I've been in the market myself since I was 20, I'm going to say 22. I bought my first house for $58,000. And I remember thinking, holy smack, that's a lot of money. My payments were 7%. And I think I paid something, I don't know, like $1,500 a month, which was a lot of money for me. Like that was a lot of money. It was more, I actually think it was more than half of my income at the time. And I made it work. And so here's another part of the story is I actually made it work, even though I moved in and I lost my job right away afterwards. So I was like, holy smokes, what am I going to do? Well, guess what? Owning a place motivates you to not wallow in self-pity. So I got a job. I got my, a new home situation worked out, and I sold that place, I want to say for 78 or 84,000 a year and a half later. We bought our next place, and that was 150,000. Well, not when I look at that, and I go back now as an example, and I look at that first house that I bought. That first house was probably worth about 300,000 now. And guess what? That's what my kids can afford. I think that the message that a lot of kids have in their lifetime is that they have to have what they're used to. But the reality is we started with that, my $58,000 house, which is now worth 300. You are basically walking into the market and your situation is equivalent to what mine is. So I know people think their kids are having a hard time, and I recognize that, yes, that's true to some degree, but I don't think that should stop anybody from getting into the market. There's ways of making inroads, and talking to the right people, getting to the right place with that. I think that's what we should be looking at, not like, oh my god, how expensive is the world. It's how do we work within the way it's all working now. And I love that idea, because I think that nothing should feel without opportunity. So I really want that for my kids. I really want my kids to feel like there's going to be opportunity for them. We just have to get a little creative, and we have to change some of our mindset around that. So I really love that idea right now, just watching my 5 kids get into the market. I am Jennifer McIntosh from the Big Pink Chair. Look us up if you haven't seen us before. We are all about community. We believe in family and fun. So if you're looking for some real estate advice, please call. And remember, if you're looking for a real estate opportunity within a new brokerage, KIC might be a great place to start your research. I recommend highly looking around. I recommend doing your research. And I also recommend calling me because I think that we'll have some fun together. Thanks again, Jennifer McIntosh signing off.